Let's move on to the Jets. All defense here has to be, and you can pick any level at this point. You look at the board that we kind of have available there, the way we've been talking. You can go and take, do you love Ahmad Gardner or Derek Stingley even with the injury? Do you love Andrew Booth? Do you love Kyle Hamilton? Do you want to go take one of those edge rushers? I mean, they actually have a pretty decent defensive front, but Robert Saleh's whole thing is, I need 8 guys. Don't get me 4, get me 8, and we'll cycle them through, and we will crush you with pass rush. So they could really go any way, but I imagine it will be on defense.
Yeah, and I think you're if you're Robert Saleh, you are in a division now where all of a sudden you look at the Miami Dolphins, and if you want to beat the Miami Dolphins, you want to beat the Buffalo Bills, you're gonna have to cover. You're gonna have to cover Jalen Waddle, you're gonna have to cover Tyreek Hill, you're gonna have to cover Stephon Diggs. I don't think the Patriots are done at receiver, but they've got receiving talent that just brought in Devontae Parker, etc., etc. You're gonna have to cover. 4 feels too high for me for Gardner, but at some point he's going to have to come off the board, and they need corner help. I mean, the kid out of Virginia has begun to look. I know he had the ankle injury before the draft. Bryce Hall, but I think you're going to have to look for corner unless I know they're only picking 4th, but unless there's a spectacular fall, or Salah's just fallen in love with somebody that will remind him of somebody he's had before that can get to the quarterback. But I just think in that division, you're going to have to, and in that conference, you want to get ahead in the AFC. You look at all the talent, the quarterback talent that's over in the AFC now, and you're going to have to cover. You've got to cover. You look at the best teams in the AFC and in the NFL, they can cover, whether that's Green Bay with Stokes and Alexander, whether that's Miami with Howard and Jones. Look around the league, there's great corners everywhere. So it would not surprise me if they took Sauce Gardner here.
No, me neither. I look at my board right now and I'm seeing I got Derek Stingley 7th overall. I don't have the medical file though. I don't have a look at those x-rays, and I would really want to have a look at those x-rays before I made that pick. And based on where I'm seeing him selected by people who at least have agent intel, it's probably likely to be mid to latter half of the first round, even then it will be in the very top. So I do think it comes down to Sauce Gardner versus exactly what you said there. Has Robert Saleh fallen in love with one of these edge rushers, and probably knowing him, he's fallen in love with 8 of them, right? Yeah. And it's who is the power player in that building? That's what this pick comes down to me, because if it's his way, he's taking an edge guy. They could always use my edge help, and Kayvon Thibodeau in his setup would get me all kinds of tingly. That is about as fun as it gets. Same as we mentioned Jermaine Johnson there. If Walker's there, whoever the top edge guy is, and I think particularly for him, as we saw what he did with Taron Armstead and all those guys there with Bosa, and even with the dip and rip guys like bringing in Arden Key off the street, and all of a sudden, he's a really good player. I do think he wants some of that in-out big edge versatility. That's kind of the thing they do, right? Is you never know. They send 4 guys into the field, you have no idea where those guys are aligning. Yeah, that's kind of his specialty. So if he sees someone he thinks can have that in-out versatility, I think they absolutely come off the board. And if he's not the true power player there, then I think they do go corner.
Yeah, I think it's I agree. There are going to be defensive linemen that he falls in love with. People thinking maybe people watching will they go offensive line? I don't think so. Whatever happens with Mekhi Becton, I think they really like George Fant at left tackle. Obviously, they brought in Laken Tomlinson. There's the kid they took in the first round last year, Elijah Vera Tucker, and work out who's going to play at which guard spot. I
would have no problem with that. If they think Charles Cross is the best player in the draft and they also have 10,
maybe
you take one, and maybe
I just think they really like Fant on the left side, and I don't think they like him particularly on the right side. So, but.
I agree with you. If you think the best player in the draft is there, take him. You figure the rest out later.
The other point on this is, to me, this has got to be Joe Douglas. This has got to be knocking this out of the park draft for Joe Douglas, the GM, hasn't it? I mean, it's, for want of a better word, it's crap or get off the pot kind of time for I don't know if we're swearing, are we? I mean,
yes, always.
Don't get off the pot. It's time. It's time for Joe Douglas. So